Are turning now to a bewildering story concerning an alleged scammer in Maryland who illegally moved into a lavish $2.3 million mansion while posing as a highfalutin financial advisor, but who in actuality was nothing more than a low-level con artist actually living off of food stamps. According to reports, the 40-year-old squatter and her 16-year-old daughter recently moved into a luxurious 7,500-square-foot palace in an upscale neighborhood just outside of our nation's capital. Well, the problem, that home was in foreclosure at the time, and she didn't really own the place at all, or even in part. In the meantime, while the culprit sent her poor daughter off to work at a menial job at a nearby bakery, in order to make ends meet, she hawked her financial services online, posing as a well-respected bankruptcy guru and posting flashy photos of her expensive Porsche, all to lure in unsuspecting customers. However, it wasn't long before her next-door neighbor, that guy over there, saw through her scam and became highly suspicious, ultimately leading to the revelation that the squatter was a total fraud, which I think is a fraud who eats a breakfast cereal called Total. It's not as good as Raisin Bran, but it ain't half bad. Records show that in reality, she's nothing more than a bankrupt grifter with a meager monthly income of less than $1,000, which is made up entirely of a pitiful amount of child support combined with just over $400 worth of food stamps. Since she first moved into the mansion, the scammer has been arrested a couple of times for her brazen scheme and has even spent a brief period of time behind bars after being convicted of breaking and entering and trespassing. Well, today, right now, she apparently is out on bond ahead of her next court hearing, which is scheduled to take place next month. I like that. Girlfriend has a rap sheet. Meanwhile, the bank that owns the property has apparently learned their lesson. They've changed the locks, and all of the glitzy home's doors and windows are now boarded up completely. Final thoughts, and this is the big news roundup lowdown. Now, here's the way I see it. You can look at someone like this, and her name, by the way, is Ms. Good. You can look at something like this and use inflammatory language to call them out, embarrass them, and make them look evil and guilty. But maybe there's just a bit more to the story. Yeah, you can call this fine young lady a squatter, a shyster, and anything else. But if I became her court-appointed attorney, I might make this argument. I would perhaps indicate to His Honor that my client was merely doing research for a job she plans to audition for in the future as the next governor of Minnesota. Now, that particular position, as you might know, becomes available in just a matter of months, and I would argue that my client was merely doing what they call research or show prep, all as a means to an end to become a corrupt politician. I should have been embarrassed her. I'm pretty good at this. Regarding her living arrangement in the mansion in the posh neighborhood, I would also make clear to Judge Wapner that a pretend bankruptcy expert can't be seen living with common folk in average neighborhoods in one of those low-rent, cheesy two-bedroom apartments. In my mind, you got to do what you got to do to keep up appearances. And finally, with regard to that $408 she receives monthly for food stamps, the last I checked, people with fancy sports cars who live rent-free in other people's mansions, they still have to buy victuals. And I, for one, would be devastated if this woman became somehow malnourished. There's also this, 408 clams as a drop in the bucket. And what about all those tattoos? They're not free, and the way I see it, that $408 ought to be doubled. After all, she might decide she needs to mar up her body with some of that fancy ink. I just love it when taxpayer handouts are intelligently spent on things like extra tattoos. Hey, Bill Thomas here. If you like what you see, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon. And don't forget to check out our channel, News Roundup with Bill Thomas. And that's where you can catch our full program and more videos. And we'll see you right back here next time.